Welcome back. A Singapore-produced film has been selected for the Annecy International Animation Film Festival for the first time. It's regarded as one of the world's top honours in animation. The film, titled The Violinist, is co-directed by Ervin and Raul Garcia and is a historical drama set in Singapore and Malaya. And for more on this, we have Ervin on Zoom and also Justin Deiman here, who is the executive producer in studio. Gentlemen, welcome to the show and also congratulations on the nomination.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let's start with Ervin. What does this moment mean for you and also for Singapore's animation industry?
Well, the film itself has been in development, various stages for about 10 years, right? So it's been a long time. And, the production has been the last 3-4 years very intense. So when the news broke, I think the first thing that I did was to inform the entire team at our studio, Roper Playground Media in Singapore. And, just to share the news with them. I think many of them, even right now, are still working on the film, putting the finishing touches, so I don't think it's settling, what they've really achieved. And I hope the time will come when they can take pause and realize, this is a very significant milestone. So I think more than anything, I'm just really proud and gratified for our team here in Singapore. Yeah.
And speaking of that team, Ervin, you're a co-director along with Raul Garcia. How did that collaboration come about? Can you tell us what each of you brought to the table here?
Yeah, Raul, I first met Raul about 7-8 years in Singapore when he was here as a visiting professor at LaSalle College of the Arts, teaching animation. And Raul himself is a very renowned animation director in the industry. He's worked on many of the films under the so-called the Disney Renaissance, like Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas, Aladdin. So he's comes with a really deep well of experience. And I just felt that someone like him, would really be helpful for many of our young animators here in Singapore and in our studio, all working on their first film. So I think, and more than that, he's really just a wonderful, wonderful human being. His generosity, his talent, and his dedication is a very good example for everyone. So I think it's one of the best decisions we've made, bringing him on board. Yeah,
you can really feel the strong teamwork here. And speaking of another member of the team, we have Justin here in studio with us. Now, Justin, you produced this feature that's set in Singapore and Malaya at that time, right? With people from all around the world. What was that experience like for you?
Well, it's quite unique in the sense, right? This film, a Singaporean film, animated no less, of this kind of scale, being so international, even though it's so culturally and historically, specific, having partners from, Spain, Italy, being produced across, almost 10 countries. It really took a global village to do this. And I would say it first started, most importantly, back at home. We had a great support from IMDA. Even though the film itself it's mostly funded out of international markets, IMDA gave a very crucial beginning support to get the film moving. Even since it was a short film, all the way till now, it was a crucial piece. And then that crucial piece allowed us to meet some really lovely and talented co-producers from Spain and Italy, Paloma and Cristiano. They really supported the film. They even fought with their own government many battles to say, why should these countries support a film set in Singapore, such a Singapore story? But the most important thing that came out of it was how universal the themes were, how human it was. And I really give credit to Ervin and Raul in how they brought that out.
And to bring out those universal themes, the music was actually a very crucial part of it. It is called The Violinist. Yes, yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about the music?
So music was done by our own Singaporean Golden Horse winning genius, Ricky Ho, and recorded with our key violinist, Joy. So one of the key things that we realized from the music was that it had to be transformative and transportive as well. Given that this is set in World War II times, the music had to be epic. It had to evoke a lot of emotions. So we had to create a very special score for this film. At the same time, we recorded a lot of classical music with the help of the Singapore Symphony Orchestra as well. They helped us with research and all that as well. So one of the key things that we wanted to make sure was it's a story about wartime, the music had to be able to support that emotionally.
Well, Ervin, let's go over to you now. The Violinist is also interesting in that it is a hand-drawn feature. Can you explain to all of us what that means and why that approach was so important in telling the story exactly the way it is?
Yeah, it literally hand-drawn means draw my hands. It sounds a little silly, but it's true. Of course, on computers. And what that really means is the performance created by our animators, literally drawn frame by frame. It is a very traditional style of animation, right? And I think for me, at least, that this kind of 2D traditional animation has a certain timelessness quality that I think the film, needs. There's certain kind of fragility, even slight imperfections in a 2D animation. I think they all adds to give the film a certain quality, particularly a film that carries very strong themes of history, of emotion, and courage and resilience in under extraordinary times. It is in many ways a mature film, but also very musical driven. And I think this style of animation really just is perfect for it. Hence, that decision was made very early on to make this a very traditionally animated film. Yeah.
And the film will be out in Singapore really soon. So for our viewers who are curious about the film, can you share more about the story of The Violinist and also the themes that you hope will really resonate with the audiences here in Singapore?
Yeah, it's a story that spans about 90 years of Singapore and Malaya's past, right? Beginning from the colonial days to, a big chunk of the story happens with the Japanese occupation as the backdrop, and then, post-war. And it's really about how, war essentially shapes the lives of our two protagonists, two childhood friends who dream of performing the violins all over the world, but their lives are separated by this event, and how over decades they sort of try to find a way back to each other through the music. So it's a story about courage, resilience, and how music in times of strife and conflict can also be a source of quiet dignity and humanity. And yeah, it's also a love letter to Singapore, at least for me. Being this being our first film, I've always believed that it should be a story about who we are and where we come from. And I think this film hopefully captures that.
Yeah, and something all of us can relate to as Singaporeans as well. Well, Ervin and Justin, thank you so much for sharing about The Violinist with us. I've been chatting with both Ervin Han and Justin Deiman, who is part of the team behind the film The Violinist.